You're alone.
Oh, always, always, always. Awesome. Let's get this party started.
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Monday, end of June, Home Ownership Awareness Month. Think about that.
End of a quarter as well.
End of a quarter,
Q2.
getting into Q3 and Q4, getting into summer. Oftentimes, that we find, in working with sales teams, summer's it's a tricky 2 month period that some lean into, some lean out of. And it's hard to find time on people's schedules. It's you're, up against vacations and kids being off of school and whatnot. And so there's definitely some. I think this is the sales professionals' heyday. This is where they can really go make hay. And I remember growing up on the farm, you had to go cut that hay, you had to get it in, you had to bale it, summer was the time. And you always thought, I'm gonna sit back, it's gonna be frigid cold in the winter. And we had horses, our horses are gonna have plenty, and we didn't raise crops per se. We did have gardens, but we weren't like combining corn and wheat for humanity. But at the end of the day, in sales, this is how your company is going to eat and stay alive
Hmm.
in the winter months. And whether that's a physical winter month or a winter because of some cycle of the industry, I think right now is absolutely a time to lean in. So I'm excited for this conversation. I'm excited to have David back,
Great to
my
be back.
sales mentor. And David, you've been all over the globe coaching and training and leading your team. And it's been, we had the one conversation back in couple months back on reimagining prospecting. That was powerful. So it's good to have you back, man.
Always great to be back. And Tim, you mentioned about the summer and these summer months and July and August and the dog days of summer and the distractions and family and trips and all that. I think, like you said, it's a sales professional's heyday. It really is time to fine tune. We have to bring that value. You have to wake people up. If you make it important, if they sense it's important, they're going to make the time for it. They're going to make the time on a trip, before a trip, after a trip, and you just again fine tuning, um, taking ownership of the price, the product, the productions, the objections, everything. But it's really time to tighten that messaging and make, hopefully it's important to the buyer, to your clients, and it resonates, and you're worth their time.
Yeah,
So
100%, 100%. And what I hear, especially now in this um, weird spot we're in with still rates high, inventory, seemingly low, is popping up in other places. And I think there's a lot of good news and good signs, but I still hear so much of the sales conversation revolving around what's outside of our control. And, and also too, I think throwing in the towel when it comes to price or when it comes to products, right? Our price is too high, somebody's undercutting us in the market, or we don't have that product type. I run into this a lot with, mortgage companies, and maybe some way they've structured or they've been able to capitalize and they've been able to go after a certain market niche because of the way they're doing, loans or structuring loans. And so this professional here, well, I can't do that. Um, or when it comes internally to our production and what our team can do or is doing, or sometimes I believe what we call the firewall that gets built between sales and production and all of these things. And I hear sales reps, so well, corporate won't let us, or my internal team said, and it's just this, like if I'm the consumer, I'm sitting there going, huh? What a discombobulated company. So I hear these things, and it seems to be at the core of it either an unwillingness or maybe a lack of know-how and expertise on taking ownership of that conversation, getting ahead of the conversation and
mhm.
owning it on price. If I'm the most expensive, Well, I'm proud to be the most expensive. And if I don't have a certain product, well, have I articulated the products I have well enough? And am I willing to refer out when it's truly not a fit? And then when it comes to production, what am I doing as a sales professional to tear that freaking firewall down and be a cohesive, unified team? So if any of that resembles pain for you today, currently, in your sales and in your conversations with clients, pricing, product, or production, stay tuned. The next hour and a little bit of time, we're going to dig in. And please, if you're joining today, drop your questions in the chat as we go along. We have some questions for you as well. We'll be dropping those in the chat, but I'm excited to dig in. And just real quick, before we go too far, I do want to just encourage everybody, if you haven't jumped over to the Energy for Sales YouTube channel, please do that. That's where we house all of our recordings. You can find past conversations. If you just need to listen in and get some motivation. Again, we don't purport to have it all, but what we do try to bring is practical mindset lifts, practical ways to sharpen your saw. So get registered or get subscribed to the YouTube channel. All of the links go there. And then if you're a mortgage company or a real estate brokerage or even a title company listening, and we've not had the AI talk, I would just ask that you know we set up some time to discuss how you're approaching AI in your sales and marketing. And really, when it comes to being effective with it, I see so many shiny objects with AI. I see a lot of people jumping in and using it here, using it there. And really, what they're doing is adding more to their plate. They're speeding the treadmill up. And what we lack is a core fundamental grounding in what actually generates business and sales, and that is connection. And David and I like to say better connection equals better sales. So how does AI actually help us do that? We have a training path around AI powered content, AI powered workflows, AI powered sales and marketing. So again, if we haven't discussed it, let's set up a time to talk. So anyway, that's all the screen share I have for today. Get subscribed to Energy for Sales for the recordings, and then let's talk about AI and how you're approaching your marketplace. Without further ado, David, let's jump into price. Let's jump into product, and let's jump into production. So
Let's go.
a deep discussion. So here we go. Man, I'm sure you hear price a lot. I mean, it's one of the biggest objections as we're coaching teams on navigating objections. It's one of the biggest things we hear. And price can be structured so many different ways. It could be a flat out price on a website or a catalog or a rate sheet or a quote, or it could be kind of, muddled waters where maybe it's a structured deal or a structured business setup or a business arrangement or whatever. Price is camouflaged a lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, the core comes down to I'm going to save money or I'm going to make more money using this supplier or using this person. And a lot of times I find we buy that. When we hear that as a sales professional, we actually buy that objection right away. And I think we need to back up a little bit, right?
Hmm. Yeah, the old adage, he who mentions price first loses, can be in play in certain scenarios. Seems more commodity driven. Um, but there are great ways to position yourself. You had mentioned earlier, and it just made me think, we had to change HVAC people to take care of it. So we had a company. I've been watching ads. Saw a truck across the cul-de-sac. Asked my neighbor. Said, "Yeah, the owner actually came out when we got the unit." And so that, in my mind, they weren't a far front runner, but they were a front runner. So I like the technician. When I asked him about their maintenance plan, he was not afraid to say, "Look, there are some very inexpensive ones, but let me share why we charge what we charge." And off he went. You know, heck, they have other services, they have electrical, they have all this stuff, and so price. If you can get to the price, and I didn't even bring up the objection, but he just went there because he knows what the competition does. He knows the good things about them. He knows the flaws. He knows the pricing scenarios. I was looking for a partnership. I was not looking for a vendor, so it did not scare me off. It actually attracted me to them even more. It is a premium, but he knows my unit. They've come out for other things, discounts on service calls and priority and things like that. So I tell that story because he as the technician was not afraid. He's not a sales guy. Those are always your best your best salespeople are those that are, are an engineer or something where you don't feel they really have skin in the game from a financial perspective, but the pride he's going to deliver top notch quality, and he was not afraid to mention what their pricing was. We have 2 units. We paid more than I've ever paid just on a monthly basis. But I have that peace of mind. So again, like, what are you selling? Are you selling a transaction? Are you selling peace of mind? Tim, you deal with many industries that it needs to be more about that peace of mind. The title work, I don't want to go after the lowest title guy who can get it done in a day. So I don't think time would help me, and I don't think price helps me there. So I don't know if that's where you want to go, but that's kind of, just, and yes, in the big solutions, it is price, but it's about value. And, I'm coaching a team right now. We're in the middle of one where they felt the pricing didn't work for them. So we asked them, okay, how can we get creative here? We're gonna either extend the agreement and get that 5 year and make it back up on the backside. We're gonna make it easy for them to do business with us on the front end. So
Yeah.
a lot of different areas there. I don't know if that's where you wanted me to go, but
It really doesn't. It's an open conversation. That's why we're not doing PowerPoint day. We're structuring this around 3 components: price, product, production, and really just unpacking. I don't want to ramble through slides, right? But
no.
go back to what you said. HVAC guy, you didn't have to even bring it up. He went there. That's what he went ahead and went there, which tells me a couple of things. They probably practiced as a team. They probably know that they're not the cheapest, and they have freaking owned it. They said, and we're okay with that. One of the things that my company, we know is we don't race to the bottom. When it comes to an agency agreement, we don't race to the bottom. And so with our sales team, we've kind of derived this whole mantra around that we're proud of that we don't race to the bottom. Have we sharpened our pencil at time when it's truly budgetary and when it's truly, there's some upside to a larger partnership, and it's the pie is much bigger and we can do things like, is there structure? Is there pricing tier? There's always a negotiation. We know that. But one of the biggest things that we've really changed our mindset around is we don't need to apologize for being the most expensive. What we need to articulate earlier on is that and it's actually a hashtag I use when we're doing like social campaigns, is FNF invests in you. And what that means from a recruitment standpoint, with people joining our team, to a agency agreement standpoint, with the investment we make. We don't just have, canned solutions on our website. We don't just have the standard industry, buckets of continuing ed and the things that the table stakes you have to have in place to compete. No, but we go so much further. And here are some of the things, and we demonstrate that value earlier. Like, hey, lean in, let us demonstrate the value so you understand why these percentage points will make so much more in return with the level of partnership. We go there. And David, when you said the HVAC guy didn't wait for you, he just went there. Didn't wait for you to ask, he just went there. That's powerful. The person who is the most expensive and doesn't bring pricing up earlier will always make your client, you will make your client feel bait and switched. If you don't bring it up earlier. You can't just, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. Oh, and by the way, boom, here's my price tag. You need to say, hey, we often run into the question of, or we often face in the industry, we get quotes back from, plumbers around town, title companies around town, whoever, whatever industry you're in, that come in often cheaper. And we understand that. We understand that budgets matter. We understand that pricing matters. But let me help you understand kind of the what we determined actually creates more costs for our clients when they go with a solution that doesn't have the
Mhm.
service model we have, doesn't have the warranty model we have. Is that okay if I articulate kind of why our pricing structure is this way so you understand and totally informed going in? When you can address it up front, now you're setting the expectations. So there's something here in the chat I'll read, but David, your wheels are churning. What
No,
would you add?
I was just thinking back about the pride, which you know, pride is not a great thing, but in your personal life, you should be happy, not prideful.
Sure.
We've had those conversations before, but he didn't waver. Um, he did not. Chris did not waver. He was proud of what they do and was not embarrassed about being, at the top of the market. And you think about it, that's they probably want clients that appreciate that. When it's 150 degrees outside and something happens, I will appreciate that I'm at the top of the list and not just one of many. But yeah, it's and I like your point. Um, Practice. We talk about overcoming objections, and you should list them, and you should craft your answers, and you should practice them so that it just easily flows. And we've also talked about just bringing, if you bring up a hurdle or an obstacle and you hurdle it yourself, it shows that you have a full thought process, and you
Yeah.
know your place in the market. So, um,
Yeah. Meg, you kind of stole our thunder, which is perfect because we talk about, when it comes to price, um, anchoring that price to outcomes or the experience, right? Not just features. A lot of times we get trapped in selling the features of a product or the features of our title company or the features of our website as a real estate agent, the features of, you know, our tech stack, a lot of features. What we need to do is think more outcomes in terms of our consumer, the outcomes, like David's talking about. We're going to keep you cool on that 150-degree day. The experience, how all of your people are going to feel. I'm just, again, stay on the HVAC train for a minute. If it's a complete system redo, or if it's inside, or you have any interaction inside the house, like some of your process on how you put the cloth over your shoes to keep their carpet clean, like some of the ancillary things when it comes to your process, that matters. That matters to them. That's maybe their last experience with somebody left black, muck on their carpet, whatever it is.
mhm,
And Meg, you said it. You said, I reinforce my value proposition. I invite them to share more information on a company they find cheaper, which is powerful, by the way. And we always emphasize, if somebody says, hey, I'm loyal over here, they've got great pricing. It's like, awesome. Share. Would you mind sharing more? What do you love about? And
mhm,
we usually lean into, what do you love about working with them? Because what we find oftentimes is that, well, I don't love them, but I do like how they whatever. So, what do you love about working with them? Totally good. Hey, send more information. If somebody's just flat out quoting like a price sheet, sometimes I'll say, hey, feel free to redact any information, like any names, or to protect the innocent. But I would love to take a look just to make sure we're quoting apples to apples. As you know, some of the fees on a settlement statement aren't always spelled out exactly the same, and maybe I can help break that down for you and make a one-to-one comparison. But again, the worst thing is not knowing where you stand, and you're quoting apples to oranges.
mhm,
But so Meg, that's powerful. But then I love that you said, I explain clear deliverables. There's your outcomes that will occur throughout the process. That's called taking ownership of the buyer's journey.
mhm.
Here's why, but here's what it looks like from start to finish. And here's why we believe this service level and what we charge is very competitive and will set you up for success. So again, outcomes, deliverables, and the experience that they're going to have through it. And then sharing your fees early on, invite the open conversation. Fantastic. Meg, great work. Thanks for sharing that with everybody.
I tell you
Um,
what's interesting. An interesting byproduct of this, Tim, has been that, I mean, right out of the gate, I had respect for him. I mean, as a coach of salespeople, and he's not a traditional salesperson. He was up front. He was, and he, was not bashful. But there's that mutual respect, to the point that when he came out in the fall, I hadn't clipped. to get to my water because they have to the spigot they have to go behind the bushes. I had not clipped a nice path, and even mentioned to me, said, next time if you could kind of clear that path a little bit more, it'd be easier on me.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it shows again like there's that mutual respect brought in from the very beginning. The first time I met the guy, and you're right, put on the little booties, came in the house. That's got to be a pain in the butt. He's back and forth, and he's putting them on and off 10 times, but every single time, just systems and processes.
Systems and processes, and when you can sell, because you can sell systems and processes, right?
Exactly.
Better ingredients, better pizza. We're not the cheapest in town. We're not Little
Correct.
Caesars, right? Pizza runs right out the door when you got better ingredients and you feel those fresh peppers cracking in your mouth as you bite into that Supreme. Anyway, not to make everybody hungry on a Monday afternoon. However, let's keep. So, all right, price. Get ahead of it. Sell the service model. Real quick before we move off, I will also say, and this is interesting, we're out at Fish Fry, and this young guy that I'm mentoring, he's got a job, he's out of high school, he's got a job, and I was like, how's the job going? Oh man, he's just excited, man. He's in HVAC. So again, sticking with HVAC thing. And he's not my HVAC guy. He's just working for a company. I got my guy. But and so I'm like, how's it going? Oh man, I'm learning all sorts of things. I was doing some welding this week. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about that. So then I put this addition on the house, and my guy had, we had run some extension tubing to it and whatever. He's like, did you reduce that down? I mean, he's like 19 years old, right? He's like, did you reduce that? How long of a run did you have? Did you reduce that down? Um, so hang on, where did the vent go? He was like super genuinely curious. And I know we're not talking about curiosity today, David, although we are going to crack this nut. We're going to scratch this one soon because we talk about curiosity all the time. But I'll tell you, earlier in the sales process, the one who asks the most questions and genuinely interested in the success of the person they're talking to can oftentimes charge whatever they want. Not again, competitive, but whatever they want. Here's the reason. He was asking me questions I did not know how to answer. I wanted to actually crawl under and take a look later to see, but he was educating me why you want to condense it down. You get more pressure and all that. Did he do that? Did your guy do that? I'm just curious, like make sure Jen has all the air she needs in the kitchen, whatever it was. But this 19-year-old, the questions, the curiosity, the genuinely concern, I was like, I will pay for that. Right. And by the way, then that feeds right into, hey, let me come out and do a free consult. Let me come out and do a quick thing and I'll make a plan for you. I mean, we know how service industries do it. We're getting called on these people all the time. Do you model something like that in your business? Powerful questions, educate, find out and educate at the same time to then back into let's do something together. And then your price kind of takes care of itself because, yeah, absolutely. That would make sense that they're a little bit more than the title company that screwed me the last deal because it was the cheapest in town. You'd be shocked, David, how many of our client agents still run with we're the cheapest in town mantra. And it is hard to coach off of that. After your brain has been around the cheapest in town, our price points, we've not raised them with everybody else. We're still the cheapest. And yet I go in there like we're struggling to get business. So you understand. So, but let's back into this now. When you get hit with, hey, ABC company has lower prices, what do you do as a sales rep? Oftentimes we go back internally and say, hey, we need to have a lower price. Like I hear this all the time. We need to have a lower price. We need to get there. And here's what I've learned, that your potential client has no intention of using that cheapest person in town. It's called buyers are liars. And we've actually dug deep enough to find out they made up a price. Has that ever happened to you? Right? So, David, what are your thoughts on pumping the brakes and not just going off the rails with we got to go be the cheapest now, or we got to go sharp on a pencil now? Because sometimes we look at that first price objection and we believe it when it's really a bogey.
Yeah, I think that those are, if you're going to shift directions, that's just a byproduct of not having your identity, not knowing what you want to be to whom. And probably, an early salesperson is going to hear that in the field and they're not going to know how to react. They're not going to know how Chris reacted and brought it up as far as not being the lowest price, but that is a reaction. Now, there is a difference between not being competitive and you know it, or not being able to articulate your differentiation to justify your pricing. And so, when you have that, um, the early salesperson, the early career salesperson, is going to run and not understand. The Tim Hooper, as an early salesperson, knew the value prop and would not have done that. I mean, I was there with you. Um, so it, it is that race to the bottom. We've talked about it before. I learned a long time ago. Um, you know, Not only he who wins on price, really loses, but if a client comes to you because you're the lowest price, there's always going to be another guy or gal. They're always going to be lower. There's no loyalty. That's all they're looking for. Um, so it's not a path to win. It's a path to educate. It's a path to educate your organization to the differentiation and why you are charging what you have to charge to provide the top level service. I mean, they're price buyers. We've seen them. We've
Yeah.
steered away
Yeah.
from them. We've let them go. We've wished them well. I don't ever
Um,
want to be there. I mean,
yeah.
I had an office machine company in the '90s, the late '90s, and believe it or not, we were doing typewriter repair, fax repair. We were charging $90 an hour. Like again, to your point, like when we bought the company, we were probably at the lowest level because you had owners that just were trying to eke out whatever. We took the pricing up. We wanted a certain kind of clientele. We wanted the law firms, the accounting firms, those that didn't have a word processor and typewriter, but a fleet of them,
Yeah.
and price it properly.
Yeah.
And, but you just, if you're if you're not hearing your price is too high, then it's too low. It just is. Now you have to match the value. We're not here to,
It's
abuse
powerful what you
people.
just said. It's powerful what you just said. If you're not hearing your price is too high ever, then you're too low. That's interesting. It's also a great practice to ask what their
Hmm.
expectations are or what their budget is or what they've been paying. If somebody's moving from one place to another, ask them what that looks like because chances are you can gain some market intel that you aren't price competitive, like price high enough or competitively enough, and you do good work, right? So, David, I love the analogy of you upped the price to attract a certain clientele. There's some masterful studies and articles out there on raising price and the perceived value that you create along with that. Now you have to back it up because they'll scratch through if you deliver a crummy experiences.
Yeah.
They're gonna hate you for two reasons: crummy experience and they were ripped off.
Yeah.
So but again, it goes back to our questions that we put in the chat, and I'll read them out in case you're watching this recording later and don't have access to the chat. First, when was the last time someone objected to your price and how did you respond? Right? Just think through it. And we've already addressed kind of some of the ways to respond. But what are 2 to 3 reasons you feel confident charging what you do? Are you clear on that? That's your value
Hmm.
proposition. Are you clear on that? And is it tied to those outcomes, those deliverables, the experience, the process? I always like to say price becomes irrelevant when I know long term I'm going to be taken care of. Are you painting a long-term success picture? What are those 2 to 3 reasons that they can't just be short-term? Some of them will
Hmm.
matter. They're keeping your carpet clean. That will matter. But that can be quickly become a table stake, and your competitor will do it too. You need to be thinking long-term. How are you around for the long term? One of the things we like to share is we're going to be the underwriter around for the long term because we're not racing the bottom, which then if you watch the movie play long enough in the cycle of real estate,
Hmm.
underwriters will lay staff off and then you don't have the depth of knowledge and then claims arise and then you don't pay claims timely and then it just this vicious cycle because you race to the bottom. We want to be sustainable. And so we own the fact that we're not the cheapest because we are sustainable. We also share that we are profitable. And if you want to be a company, a title agency that's profitable, lean in. We will share our playbook with you. We will help you be profitable. That's why David and I are doing this today. So at the end of the day, we're okay, but those are our long term. You want to be profitable long term? Lean in. Don't be the cheap. Now, here's the other thing. You said it, David. There are absolutely bottom line players out there. And the bottom line players are not loyal, period. Now, if there's somebody who's price driven and they're loyal, you need to pause and ask, help me understand. Like, how did you and your current company arrive at that
Hmm.
pricing level, that service level agreement? His chances are there was a commitment, there was an exclusivity, there was something there because loyalty, they were able to negotiate and in long-term relationships. So like be mindful, like understand personas and DNA. And if there's just somebody who's just they're the endless shopper, you might just need to know who's a fit and who's not. But if there's somebody who's
Hmm.
loyal and they're also talking budget, say, help me understand what does that look like? How much are you, if you don't mind me asking, like what does the relationship dollar amount wise look between you and and that company? If you don't mind sharing just a rough estimate, so I can better understand the level of commitment you bring to the table, and maybe we can, those sorts of conversations absolutely are powerful, but you have to have a help me understand with the right DNA of buyers. So, um, anything else on price, man? I mean, it's a lot to unpack, but really
No,
at the end
I
of the
think
day,
I think it, what you talked about asking how'd you arrive at that and really having that type of conversation, being open to hearing, you're going to find out a lot of valuable information. Yes, it could have been a price with a company that they had no intention of ever because of partnering with because their SLAs and their reputation and their this and that, just aren't what they
yeah.
what they need. But also you might find out that, you have a new entrant in the market or someone that can provide close to the level of service and solution that you have for a price that's different.
Yeah.
But understanding that, so you can pick up a lot of on the ground intelligence. But there's also a lot. Some people will say that if you're not losing 10% of your client base, then your pricing each year, then your pricing really is too low. I'm not saying take it from $100 to $500, but as the market adjusts and things happen, people want you. If you're a solid company and you're a solid partner, they don't want you to go anywhere. And that pricing conversation, Tim, I would love to do that at that price for you and for everyone. If I do that, you're going to need me in the future. I'm not going to be around. I can't be profitable that way. It's like, yeah, I'd rather have you around. Your people your people are the best and the friendliest. You're 100% on your work. So you enter that sense of sensibility to them because they do want you around, and if they do, then they'll do that. Then they'll understand. No one likes to overpay, but we do like to get value for what we invest in.
It's powerful. I was buying Jen a new vehicle recently, and I'm a negotiator. And I'm sitting in the Ford dealership, and it was a sweet car. It was a sweet deal. I already knew going in. It was a sweet deal. But I had a price, and I laid the cash on the table. I just said, "Here you go. Take it or leave it." And dude, the skill by which, number one, never looked at the cash. And I thought that would get a little twitch. I thought I could sense whether it was, he's like, man, we need to move. Like it's there. It's what it is. I appreciate the cash offer, but it's this price and it's that. I was like, well, then just take the doc fee off. We're doing cash, take the doc fee. That was a Dave Ramsey trick, right? No doc fee. And he's like, man, like at the end of the day, I've got how many kids you got? Start the conversation. I got 4 kids. I got I'm worth what I'm bringing to the table and doing and this. He said I can show you the like we're not making a pretty penny on this one, and it was a used, newer but used. And he's like, so he's like showing me the numbers. I mean, it was just this back and forth. He's like, listen, I understand where you're at. And at the end of the day, we got like 500 down, and I was going 2,000 down, right? So I got a little bit, but I was going to go in hard, do the cash out, right? But just the way he kept it non-emotional, kind of just ask some questions back. And at the end of the day, I wanted them. I wanted a Ford. I wanted pre-owned certified. There were things I wanted, and he knew that, right? So, you know, just don't get too emotionally attached to price. Understand your value. Understand that when price is thrown out there, oftentimes it's a bogey objection, where there's just no intent to go with the cheapest guy. They're just throwing it out to see how, because if they can go back and say, I got 2 percentage points off, I want, they can go back to their management. Hey, we're good. We're good. We made a deal. So just understand, but get ahead of it. And the last question here would be, how do you set the tone on price early in a client conversation? And it might not be saying, hey, we're not the cheapest. You might not say that right off the bat. I want it. But I would say, hey, I would ask those questions. I would lean in with curiosity. I would try to educate earlier on. And I would say, hey, our process isn't really like, we've developed this really strategic process that your wife, your kids, everyone's going to be happy and cozy and comfortable. But David, it's going to be long term. We're here for the long term, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and by the way, things we hear is that we're not the cheapest, and like we're okay with that. But I want you to be okay with that too. So any questions along price, have you quoted anybody? Like you can always get back to where they're asking you questions or whatever. So just keep it an open conversation and keep it fun. But own the price. Own the
Mhm.
price, know your value. So moving on, a couple things, David, you mentioned earlier, just before we move on, is talk about this with your team. Talk about this with your team and come up with your 2 to 3 statement value prop that you can always anchor when price comes up. Anchor to something. Again, remember F&F invests in you. It's kind of our mantra, but we have some anchor points under that that take us way outside of the service level that our competitors offer, way outside. We have some anchor points, right? So develop those. So let's flip down into product, man, because this is where we can get into like understanding fit.
I
Being
have
able to
one more. I'll finish the
please,
story.
please,
I'll finish the story about the HVAC. Sorry, it just came up.
please, please do.
So he was out here a month or so ago. I pay for 2 units. I think it was $40 the first unit, $20 for the second unit a month. So, I mean, it's for protection of my system. It's on the higher end. They must have gotten feedback from clients. They arbitrarily went to all their maintenance contracts and reduced them by $10. I didn't ask for it, but he again, what did you think? He was proud. He was so bought into their service and everything else.
Wow.
Wasn't that great what my company did? So
Wow. There you go.
I'm not saying everybody go give money off, but again, you know, talking about having those conversations internally, these ambassadors to your organization. Yes, the ladies on the phone are very nice when I speak to them, and the guys are nice as well. But he's the man. I mean, every time they send someone out, I mean, he's the ambassador. So
Yeah.
know who your ambassadors are,
Yeah.
and if it's the right organization, it's everybody in the grocery line. It's they're
Yeah.
talking to folks, they're ambassadors. So
Yeah. Good point on that. And I don't want to belabor it because
yeah,
that was a great
on.
comeback real quick. But I will tell you, this leans into sometimes the nurture. I mean, we're talking about, a lot of times we're talking about going out and prospecting and getting new prospects, and then you're navigating objections and pricing might be thrown at you and you don't have any history. But talk about a client you have good history with, long-term history, and they come to you and say, hey, like, here's where we're at. Like, this, your competitor's offering this, and you see a shift going towards your competitor, and you know that they value what you're bringing. You've been in that relationship for a long time. You do need to have those conversations internally, and sometimes it is a negotiation internally to be more proactive, David, to giving the $10 off or whatever, to say, hey, we value you as a loyal customer or whatever. So understand when pricing is a bogey and when it absolutely is not a bogey. But anyway, I again just yeah, great,
Sorry,
great point. And
I
we'll
got you. I got you off track
no,
there.
it's so good, so good, so many good segments there for sure. But don't be afraid of price. Let's talk product for a minute. So product comes down to understanding, what client type I believe fits you. And I think in this industry, every industry has different makeups, personas, different makeups of companies, cultures, expertise. Some are, fast, quick, easy. Some are more in depth. We're going to handle bigger transactions. We're going to, we have attorneys. We have, like, everyone's going to be different. So understanding who you are and also what is a good client fit for you. And then also just, how I think sometimes we try to be all things to all people and we lack focus in business. And so we end up losing. And then also building out referral partners that when you don't have this certain type of service or you're not licensed in this state, but your good client knows they can come to you without feeling awkward and knowing that you're going to refer them to somebody. These are some powerful concepts when it comes to being comfortable around your product. So, David, let's just kind of open this up, for product. I know
Yeah.
we've done this where we've referred even to a competitor for something that we can't do, or a company we're coaching can't do. But also understanding that we don't have to just go to, oh, I can't do that because they have this product that's, yes, flashy. Sometimes you need to poke and prod a little bit to
Hmm.
understand your competitor's product and even help your client better understand this product that it might leave them lacking down the road too. And therefore, the product we offer is of higher value and a better fit long term. So it kind of comes back to some of those pricing concepts. But I'll let you kind of open this one up. And
Yeah, I think, a couple things. We're all about curiosity, and I think that we need to be curious to understand, is it a shiny new object? Is it a trend that we can get, that we need to take a look at? For instance, um, you and Andrew went from tremendous Canva help to realizing that AI, that your relationships needed expertise in that. So you went there. So we have to be open to that. But when we can't be all things to all people. I go back to when I was in cellular at NationLink Wireless. We had the easy button. And our clients loved what we did, and they would want to drag us into different stuff and more stuff. But yet it was a litmus test internally as well, because if we couldn't do it easily for ourselves, then we weren't going to be successful doing it easily for our clients. And we would tell them no and refer them out and explain, I know you need that help. We're not right for you for that. We can't make it easy for our clients where we are today. And so we would find someone. So you can't be all things to all people. We've all been there. The pressure to do more, and, oh, you find out a competitor does this, now I need to go do that. And you know, it's kind of like a whirling dervish. I mean, you're just kind of spinning around and you're not focused on what you need to do. But you still do have to be open to see if there are some emerging trends and solutions and products and things that you could potentially do. Now, I think you go and you do it and you explore it before you start telling everybody in the outside world, hey, we're thinking about doing this. We might be doing this. Although you have to do a little bit of that too. Tim, we're thinking about going in this direction a little bit. Do you ever contract for that? Do you ever buy for that? You know, so understanding a little bit of what the market, those raving fans, are they going to be waiting for you? Or you might find out, man, I love what you do, but I got Jim down there doing that, and he's my brother-in-law, and I'm not going to, he does a great job. I can't leave, but we can't be all things to all people. We have to do things that make sense. And, there are logical paths to the next thing. And it's not just because the client says, hey, could you do this for me?
yeah, I think we've all, David, I know back in our day in automotive industry together, especially it seemed like when times got lean, um, we get distracted because again, you're hungry, right? And we get distracted and we'd find ourselves in projects we had no business dealing with. And it was way outside of our scope of expertise. We started dealing with it and we ended up losing money at the end of the day because we got quagmired in a project. The upskilling, the learning curve, or the different set of expectations with this type of client. It was costly. We didn't know what we didn't know. And so I think you have to be careful. But back to your point about testing the market with, hey, if we develop something like this, or hey, our company's thinking about leaning in here, would you value that? Would this add to our relationship? Would this create more loyalty? Could we earn more of your business if we were able to? Because you've told me this now 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
If we were able to bring a solution like that, would you shift more of your business to us? Oh yeah, we love your attorneys over there. We love your people over there. If you had that, we would totally shift it all. Those sorts of conversations I love. And I think we have to, as salespeople, be listening for product or even core product variances or core product,
Hmm.
what I would call like tolerances, like where somebody has been able to, have better terms or better service level agreements or something around a product. I think we have to be aware and have those conversations. But here's the key: with the right clients. You don't want to go have this conversation with a prospective, out in left field, somebody you've never done business with, and they're throwing and dangling all these carrots on sticks. If you had this, if you had that, again, those could be bogey objections too. You just don't know. I would test product types with some of your most loyal customers who you could sit in the boardroom and have
Yep.
those conversations with. But zooming out from that, when we go to the marketplace to new customers and somebody says, especially, for instance, mortgage bankers on the line, you don't have a certain construction loan type, or you don't have a certain this type or that type. Understanding the upsides and downsides of your product offerings so you can help to understand. So help me understand, why are you looking at that type? Why are you looking at that level? Help me understand your situation. One of my good friends, she's the endorsement queen, and it's like, hey, we need this endorsement. She's like, help me understand why you need that. Well, some paralegal who is looking at an old sheet comparing to like the last deal they did 10 years ago on this piece of land is just quoting this. She's like, well, that one is kind of been replaced with this endorsement over here. We could probably use this endorsement. But she's digging in before
Hmm.
saying we don't do that. She's saying, help me understand. So then she can, hey, we do have this that I think might actually give you better coverage in the long term. You mind if I do a comparison for you? You mind if I, that's the sort of conversation. Whenever you run up into we don't have that product, make it a bigger conversation. Make it more of a solution, your client solution. Instead of focusing on your product, I see a lot of salespeople go, well, our product does this, 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 and this, and this. Stop, time out. Don't focus product, focus customers' long-term solution. Help me understand, what is it you need and what are you trying to get here? I see. Wow. It's interesting because we were exploring developing something like that. What we found was enough of our clients told us this actually covers them long term, and the banks, the capitalization, it actually works long. Whatever you break it down for them, they educate. They're like, oh, okay, wow, you know your stuff. You're able to expand the conversation. So just understand, there's a different product. Okay, don't try to go win on product.
Plus,
Comparing your product to theirs doesn't win
you
them
just
over.
you just did a really nice feel felt found. I'm proud of you there. That was good.
Oh,
You
you
went
you
to
heard
feel
that?
felt found.
You picked
Yeah,
up
I
on
did.
it?
I picked up on. And the other thing is the conversation. Say if it's something that's of a scope that's much larger that you don't really do, but to find out from them, yeah, we've got one project we need some help with, versus yeah, we're thinking about merging with a company that does a lot of that. I mean, those are different. Those are different exploration. Take on two paths.
Yeah.
I'll go. If
Yeah.
I'm only doing one, I'll go find someone. In fact, these two people will both do a great job. I'm going
Yeah.
to do 100 of them. Hold on, we got to talk about that.
Yeah. 100%. I
But just
think
be
sometimes,
careful and
go
also
ahead.
follow trends. I mean, stay ahead of what are the trends. Is somebody asking for something that is on the downside of its life cycle, that you go and invest or retool or do whatever, and then the market has already gone away.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. I think too, when you hear product, also think person. I think in a service industry, product and it can sometimes coincide with person, especially like an underwriting heavy industry. The way people underwrite, the way people um, determine a product fit. Sometimes that's a person. I know in our industry, and let me just run through these questions again for those watching the recording later. Number one, what's a product or service you wish you had, and how often is it a blocker? Sometimes we wish we had a shiny object and it's not really ever a blocker. So be careful there. But if you're hearing that you're not earning market share, or your good client can't shift more business because you need to bring that, we need to go coach. I like to say coach up internally or sell up internally to say, hey, have you guys thought about, or I'm hearing this. I think salespeople, some of the best work salespeople do, sales professionals, is the sell, the internal sell. It's the hard, it's one of the hardest, but it's one of the highest payoff sales you'll ever make in your life is the internal sell. And a lot of times we become cynical towards our company because, oh, they won't do this, or I've tried it before, instead of actually thinking, again, taking ownership and going internally to say, hey, I've been talking to these 5 key clients. They've each told me X, Y, and Z. And here's what I've calculated would be the net new revenue to the company if we could do this. I think if salespeople got better at actually putting business cases together, we'd be unstoppable. So just before you get cynical, because my company will never hire an attorney, or my company will never, and my company, and I hear this, cut it out. You're actually in a revenue tied position. You are in more control than you give yourself credit for. Or I shouldn't say control, because control is an illusion. You have more ownership for that company than you may be giving yourself credit for. So if you're being blocked, how are you communicating that in a business, what I call a constructive, solutions-minded business case way, as opposed to a complaint? Right? So how often is it a blocker that you don't have a certain product or service? And then have you ever referred someone away and gained their trust long term? I want to talk about that in just a second, a little bit deeper, because I know we touched on it. And then the other key is how can we better package or articulate what we do offer to reduce confusion and overwhelm? So if you have a limited product set, or if you do kind of point people to one kind of key product, or one or two or three things, let them know that this is like, how are we articulating this is the standard. I know for us it's the enhanced policy versus the basic policy, and we articulate the enhanced gets you all this extra, and you don't need title lock, monthly monitoring, when, like, so we try to share why do we kind of endorse this one product, right? So having those conversations earlier, or packaging, articulating it better, I think is a huge area of taking ownership that we could do in sales. So, David, let's unpack a few more of these, the referring away and also the better articulation. I think we talked about the blocked enough. But those are the 3 questions I would ask you guys on this call to consider from a sales ownership perspective.
Yeah, if you're in the relationship business and you're a connector, the easiest thing is if it's something you don't do and it's close to what you do, you should know the right people to refer over to that. Um, and you're not going to lose a client. You're just going to even more bolster yourself as the person to go to. You're that subject matter expert. You're all about that industry, whether you provide that service and that solution or not. And you're not going to gain by not. Oh, I don't know anybody that's going to do that. Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, because you're afraid to give it to somebody, and sometimes
Mhm.
that is a direct competitor that does other things, and you're fearful. You're fearful. Oh gosh, if they go over there and they try that, I might lose this. Well, you gotta double down and make sure that what you do provide to them is top notch. So it's not as tricky as it's made out to be. Now, if you have 2 people that do the same level of service and you truly believe in your heart that they are going to take care of this client to the best, and it's a toss up, and one person has zero of what you do, and another person steps on your toes on 5 different product lines, you might have a little tougher choice to go over into the safe place. But also, Tim, I mean, we've talked. I mean, you should know your competitors. You should meet with your competitors, not to the point that's collusion and price fixing and all that other stuff. But I mean, they're just human beings like we are. I mean, they got kids. They're at ball games. I mean, to have such animosity against your industry, I mean,
Yes. Yep.
you got to be friends. So it should, helping a friend find the right person should always feel great, and they're going to come back to you.
I have a great example recently. David, I love what you're saying. When you care about your customer, number one, your industry, number two, you're going to build some of these, what I call neighbors.
Hmm.
What we often call them frenemies. Um, they're friends, competitors. We like to say frenemy, just for fun sometimes. But we were in a cohort recently, sales cohort. 11 different title companies came together to learn to grow, to strategize together. And we hosted in Northern Virginia. And one of our Maryland um, title companies, just a go-getter, go-giver, I should say as well. She connected really well with one of our Richmond, Virginia. Again, go-giver, abundant
Hmm.
mindset. And because one's licensed in Maryland, one's licensed in Virginia, now could they run out and get their license for the other state? Very easily. Both companies are very capable. Um, but she had a she or he had a referral from Maryland, and based on the cohort, they just got to know each other, and so he really liked her persona and how she went about sales, and he in his mind he's like, okay, she'll take good care of my customers. I would be proud to refer to her, and he was growing his network, so he called. It was again the call before the call. It was the call. Hey, here's who I have. Here's what I'm gonna. And then he called his client and said, hey, I've established this relationship with so and so. She's gonna take good care of you. I'm gonna loop you in. Blah blah blah. Well, then I get a text message a couple weeks later. Hey, what's so and so's address? I want to put a thank you note in the mail for the referral he gave us, and I want to make sure I'm in a referring posture back. So at the end of the day, here's all of this is upside. Number one, the guy in Richmond, he built trust. He showed that he has an expansive network, that he's taken time to cultivate and build. I mean, he showed it to our cohort to network, to build. Number two, he made sure that it was with a reputable white glove to match his level of service. He was confident in that. He did the work to vet. Number three, he had the conversation, not just, hey, I'm looping in. So no, here's why I'm looping in. Let me know how it goes. So he quarterbacked it. So when you refer, it's not just a transactional I'm done.
Hmm.
If you can't do something, whether that's a state or whether they need an attorney or whether it's a size of deal that's outside of your scope of balance sheet or whether it's you name it or a product type, if you're referring to somebody, make sure that you're staying as adamant about your customer success,
Hmm.
even more so, although the person you're referring to is you vetted their white glove, make sure you're quarterbacking it, saying it, and when it's done, circle back. How did it go? I think so many people are afraid to refer out because I don't want to lose a client. No, it's your client. Refer out, spell it, quarterback it, and circle back to ensure client success. So again, care for your consumer, number one.
Care
Yeah,
care for your
exactly. You never know
industry.
when you might need someone. Exactly. Santa, your ears were burning, my friend. So number one, know who your customer is and what success means to them. Know your industry and have some great referral partners. And then number three, it's your client circle back to ensure that success. Jack Daly, sales mentor from years gone by, still kicking and speaking and doing his thing. He says this when you refer out, because either you, and sometimes you might be able to do it, but you don't have the boots on the ground and you will do a bang up job. It will not be a good job. And so you refer it out to somebody, their boots on the ground, who will do a good job. He said that's selling rare air. That's like a Learjet at 50,000 feet or 30,000, whatever, 30,000 feet. He said, you don't have competition up there. It's rare air and your trust goes through the roof with that client. So I digress. That's a quick, easy
You know,
story. And I saw she chimed in on the chat, but
you know,
go ahead.
Tim, you talked about the industry and your competitors. So, true story. May 1st, 2010, the rain started here in Nashville as our historic flood, or 500-year
Mm.
flood, and it rained for days and days. And the commercial there are very few industries that are as competitive as the commercial printing industry. Here you have it, kind of an industry on the decline. Well, there were some printers that were flooded, and there were jobs for major corporations, Cracker Barrels, the Dollar Generals of the world that they didn't care about little Nashville, Tennessee. This stuff had to get out, and that industry so pulled together. They moved the work around. They got the clients taken care of, and when it was all said and done, and the waters receded, and everybody's back in business, those great clients went right back to their preferred vendors. But that's an industry that worked together, under a catastrophe, catastrophic. Um, scenario. So, referring out, you know, can bring even more loyalty than you can even imagine. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, talk about catastrophic. I mean, cyber attacks, right? In our industry, we were hit, and then we saw the people who came out of the woodwork and said, "Hey, switch to us," and they took advantage of something catastrophic. Well, then one of our larger competitors was hit, and I'll never forget the email that our leader sent out. He said, "No one will, in any regard, try to make a sell during this time. We are in this together to help our friends over at XYZ company get back on their feet as we
mhm.
understand the gravity of this and this can happen to anybody. This is not about somebody doing something wrong. This is our industry's under attack. Cyber security incidents happen. We're all going to get better for it. You will in no wise sell or target their customers or try like he didn't say stop selling. He just said you're not going to use this to go try to get signatures. And you know what's so interesting? David, not only did that gain so much respect internally, it's ironic. Recently, we've actually had two or three of some of their biggest players over our competitor move over to our company. And with that brings so much business. I will tell you, take the high road, take care of your
Mhm.
customer. And David, I love that story because I mean I lived through that with you through the Nashville flood. This was crazy. All right, production. Production, one of my favorites because at the end of the day, and I think I've said that about 20 times on this call, but we're getting towards the end of the day and end of the month, so it can only be fitting today. It's one of those lines that I've like, I'm gonna take that out of my vocabulary, and it just keeps coming back. Bottom. That's like Matthew McConaughey on the old movie. Bottom line, bottom line. That's not gonna save the date, dude. That's not gonna save the date. Okay, here we go. So, production. Who would attest, and I think all of us could, that at times, whether it's now or it has been in the past, at times there are definitely in sales to production a breakdown in the handoff process, or your ops team just wishes the salespeople would just understand this thing better, or um, you as a salesperson, you're not really leveraging your internal team. You're not using them in your value proposition. So, three questions. I'll drop these in the chat. We'll just kind of throw these out there, and then David and I will dig in a little bit on production here, give some ideas and things that we can all take back into our companies and make our company culture better. But number one, where does your sales handoff to production typically break down? That's number one. Number two, what's one thing your ops team wishes that your salespeople or you as a salesperson understood better? And then how can you turn your production team into a value prop during the sales process? Three pain points. I flip them into questions for you to ask yourself, take back to your team. But David, like we lived through this, man. We took a sales team on you and I and revamped the entire retooled the sales team really, but it was the discombobulation between production and engineering and sales, and it was just always this. It was almost like the Hatfields and McCoys in this company. It was no fun for anybody. And we
No.
were like, no, enough's enough. We're not doing this anymore. And we actually brought some specific strategic um, things that broke that wall down. And it was powerful. And I still draw from that experience. And anywhere I go, I'm always thinking about it's got to be a holistic sales effort. And we have to value each other. So where does your brain go when it comes to
Yeah,
production
I
and
mean, it was when we stepped in, it was definitely an us and them. There's a lot of dysfunction. Um, the sales team before was really selling things that was not easy or proper to deliver, so that added friction. Had some personalities in there that added extra friction. But it was definitely us and them, and we had to fix it. And you came up. I mean, you basically were the ringleader on most of this stuff. I mean, we realized as we drove all over the southeast that something had to give. It wasn't fun. It wasn't, in most organizations, there's always a sales prevention office. We counted there were about 8 internal sales that you had to make to get something um, actually produced. So we felt that was a little bit too many. I mean, getting the client to say yes was easier than getting internal at times, depending on the mood
True.
and the day. So, I mean, you did what I would still say today were just kind of revolutionary for an excited sales team to work with a stodgy, non-excited production team that kind of looks at what are these guys doing and why are they doing it and why are they here? Why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you did a fantastic job, and we really we stopped the us and them, and we made them part of it. And I'll let you share it because um, you get the glory on these. We
No,
had fun though.
100%,
That's
100% no. I actually had a gut check. I had a gut check when I was coming in. Of course, we're running the whole Southeast, and so I don't know that I would do this again.
oh, I won't.
In my late
I would not.
30s.
I would
I
not do it again.
mean, you did it with me, which I couldn't imagine. Like looking back, I hate that I did this to you, but we would get up early and go drive to Georgia because it was Eastern time. We were on Central time in Nashville. We would drive into Eastern time. We leave ODark 30 to get down to Georgia to start at when the manufacturing plant opened to try to knock on some new doors, guard shacks, whatnot, do pop buys, and then we'd usually schedule something with a client, do some pop buys, and then we drove into Alabama because it was Central Time, so we gained an hour. So we literally made the day long. One time I'll never forget, I drove on a Friday. I drove into Eastern Time to go get one more, squeaking in at like 4:55 just to try to see the guy. We ended up seeing him, but it was like, dude, this feels very bad driving away from the office on a Friday. I mean, it was
It was 5 o'clock. Yeah,
at
it
five
was.
o'clock. I mean, it was,
But we
but
are passionate about what we
we
did, so we
we
had to do it.
we loved it and the times on the road and all that. But anyway, bring that all down. I'll never forget getting into the shop at 4 a.m. one morning. And I never forget seeing Jonathan, the shop floor manager, walking in. And it killed me because I realized that, and back this was 14, 15 years ago, I was using video back when video wasn't cool. Like I was uploading little videos to YouTube and sending out to clients to get in front of engineers that we couldn't get past the guard shack to see. So video for me was more of a necessity, and I still hate how I look on video. I'll watch this recording to upload it. No, I won't watch the whole thing. I'll upload it to YouTube, and every time I hear it, I'm just like, oh, can't stand. But it's who I am, right? So I just got over that. We started sending videos, and it was making sales happen. And what I realized that morning when Jonathan walked in the shop at 4:30 a.m. or 4:15, whatever it was, I had a huge gut check seeing the shop lights kicking on and knowing that the CNC millers and the lathe workers, they are all showing up and they were working. David, it was during the boom, right before the recession in 2008. And it kind of killed production or manufacturing for about a year. But before that, we were everything was booming and we're manufacturing so good. And they were 14, 15-hour days. We setting up two shifts, and we weren't a three-shift company. We were a two-shift at max. But I'll never forget sitting in that truck, pulling out of the gate, that big iron gate, or chain link fence gate, and then putting the lock back on the chain and coming to meet you at Holiday, wherever we were meeting up, Holiday Inn or whatever. And I'll never forget driving out of that shop thinking, I have not stopped to think the people who make this happen. Okay, who make my commission check possible, who make what I get to do. And was what we did hard work? 100%. I just described driving away from the office on a Friday. But you know what? My team was doing the same thing. And so I think what dawned on me, so no glory at all here, was I had not thanked my team and I had not treated my team. I treated them nice. I was always a good person, or try to be. I thought I was. But I hadn't just been proactive with the thanks. And that day I decided in my heart that my team would be my number one customer. Period. So what happened? The next morning, I walked through the shop before anybody was there. The lights weren't even on. It was, I mean, you had like the overhead beam, but not the big massive light. And I just walked through the shop. You could hear a pin drop. It was echoey. It was loud. Big old, all these machines. And I just panned and talked to my team, uploaded that to YouTube, and sent an email to everybody in the company. And I'll never forget what the president did the next day when I was in the office. He pulled me aside. He said, "Thank you for that. Our team has been used and abused by salespeople. They'll sell a big piece of equipment, then they'll go off on vacation and take their commission check. And then when we're starting to run out of work, they'll go sell something else. It's inconsistent. It's this, that, and the other. And they've used and abused our team." He said, "Thank you for that." And I'll never forget it. So I tell that story to say this. It was not, it was more of a gut check in reality of The people who make it possible are the people who slave behind the scenes. They open the door, they lock up, they make sure the coffee Keurig is stocked. They make sure the policy is and the closing packets are printed in an order. They make sure that your company culture is what it is. And while we drive that in sales and put that out there, we have to take time to thank our number one customer, and that's our team. And
Yeah.
that's where that firewall will start to break. And I'll tell you, that's when you do need the favor, they'll bend over backwards for you. Now, one other little thing I will say with that. It also comes down to you being willing to grow as a salesperson, because what I learned too is I had to be a better communicator. I had to go into some of the technical trainings that I did not like, and I still don't like. The reason I have my title license and people are blown away, they're like, you're like a sales coach, you're a speaker, you have your title license. I'm like, yes, because I don't understand everything Norbert knows. Norbert on our team knows more in his pinky about title in this industry than I'll ever know in my whole body. But I do want to show my team that I've at least lifted a finger to understand it. And I maintain a license in this industry because I care about my industry. Period. End of story. And so that's how I think as a salesperson, I'm not saying go get every credential and become a webinar geek. And no, you need to be out selling. But you do need to stop and ask your team, what are the critical things that would help me articulate our value and articulate our company and help you get ahead of some of the things maybe I miss when I'm selling a deal? What are some of those things? Talk to your lead attorney, branch managing attorney, or your title company owner. What are some of the technical things I should upskill in so that I could better position our team for success when I sell something? That's a conversation that a true ownership mentality will have. So, David, I digress. It's just more learning through stubbing my toe, probably a lot of pride and eating ego, and still do to this day. But listen, you can't do it without the people behind you, and not behind you. These people are in front of you; they're experts. And so, anyway, you got a lot to add too, man. I mean, I learned from you. So,
I don't know. You kind of had me going there. But yeah, if it's an us and them mentality, it's got to be fixed. You got to figure out a creative way to fix it. You did, we did. We filmed every morning we were going out. We sent a little video back. I remember the one time we did it just out of the back, just to show that all there were red lights. Always red lights in front of us, and so I mean we were out early, and they did gain some respect because you know, and it was important. It was important. Uh, the company grew because of it. They were excited about the work we brought in. We fine tuned the work that we did bring in, which were things that they could manufacture properly,
yeah,
and wasn't all this tight time frames that really puts pressure on production. That's the other thing. When you talk about your back, your staff that really makes you look good and isn't on the field. Not just treating them with respect as your first customer, but there are battles. I don't want to use battles. There are conversations we can have on the front end of sales with our clients to help their world ease. I mean, the last thing you want to do is everything you bring in the shop is a emergency. It's quick.
yeah,
It has
yeah,
top priority. No, 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 no. Stop it. Just stop it.
yeah,
These people
yeah,
have kids and they have to go to ball games and you know and it's actually a weakness because it's you're not strong enough in the sales process. Say no, these are SLAs. We have a lot
yeah,
of work right now. That's why I wouldn't delay the decision much longer because we're already looking at the middle of August before I can get you slotted. I
yeah,
mean, those are things like instead of bringing it back, you got to get it done and then go to the president. The president needs the money, and it's a quick turn, and he sees the dollar signs, and then the animosity continues. Don't do that.
yeah, yeah. It's good, solid. Couple practical things. So, skill up. Ask your team, like where are some areas I can skill up? You may already know. You probably already know, but ask your team, or if you're newer to the industry, whatever industry you're in, ask your leadership. Where should I skill up? Um, number two is make them your number one customer, sell to them, thank them, and a couple practical things along with that, right? So, um, number one, if you're meeting as a sales team, it might be a good practice just to pull out some postcards or thank you notes and just, hey, who are some of the people on the team killing it for us right now? And just next sales huddle, take 5 minutes, set a timer. We just did this up with our team in Maryland. I set a timer. You'd be shocked how fast 5 minutes goes by as you're thinking about gratitude. But everybody picked a name on the team and we just jotted a note and then put it in the mail. So you might think about something very practical. I got that from Andrew a long time ago. Um, my brother, he did that with JP Morgan Chase managers all the time, just for tellers, just for people who are coming in doing it. So that's very practical. The second thing is think of like client intake forms or think about like handoff processes. David, I'll never forget for our RFQ process, we went and sat with Ed Sanders, Jonathan, Dan. We sat with all the engineering hierarchy, like the leaders on the mechanical, the electrical, and then the quoting department. And we said, hey, help us put together a robust enough kind of questionnaire that we could train the salespeople to go through. And now every project's not going to be equal. We might skip a few, but what's robust enough to get you guys most everything you need? We can always follow up if there's some caveat, but they
Hmm.
helped us design. We never had that process in place before, but we were missing things during the handoff. So we designed kind of the intake form together or some of the questions that we could ask. Any industry can formulate that into something that fits the industry. I'm thinking real estate, absolutely. What are some of the questionnaire moments? What are some of the qualification questions? Has your internal team helped to add, or have you asked them to add their input? Or hey, take a look at this. I want to tee you up better. Would you add anything? Have I missed anything here? Powerful. You talk about starting to get their buy-in. That's how you do it. And then the last piece, David, I hope you'll speak to this before we sign off here, is how can we take our internal team and get them out in front of our clients more, or bring our clients into like, hey, come in and meet with these people, or come ask them. We're going to do a day where it's ask them anything day, or come in and experience those. We're going to do a luncheon or an open house, or taking people out on the road with you to meet with key clients, not wasting their time. This needs to be done with discretion, but including them in the sales process. At least if you don't get them out, at least talk about them more, know how to
Hmm.
articulate the people on your staff. Talk about that for a second, because I think you
Yeah,
talk about
I
it
mean,
as your IP, right? Intellectual
well,
property.
exactly. I mean, we teach and preach you to leverage your intellectual property, your IP, early and often, and most of the time it's your people. Sometimes it's a C-level executive, an owner, um, or the the wizard behind the curtain, which is your production staff, and you know letting them, because I think that at times, because you didn't tell the story of the time when every salesperson took for a full day a production person out on the road with them, because there's this misnomer that oh man, the sales guys and gals that have it easy, it's so easy, but and so there was probably a lack of respect on both sides,
Sure.
but we leaned in first. But they come out with us and they realize now we never had them meet us at 3 a.m. in the morning like we used to when we did that one
Right.
route. But bring them, leverage it. It also, I think that it shows importance in two ways. It shows that you're proud of them, so they feel good, and I think that it really helps the client relationship. Oh, I get to meet the person that's actually going to design this. That's novel. You know, they get to actually see the production floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't hold that don't hold that stuff back. I think also another thing, it's just switching topics just a little bit. Access to your sales team. Have your key people able to come into a sales meeting and have open conversation about things that need to
Mhm.
be that are going well, and some kudos and some things that your team potentially needs to step it up a little bit, or at least clear the air. Maybe there's a they think back, oh well, they're not bringing me this. Well, maybe there's a reason that and so just meeting, leveraging them, but also making them feel important in the process, and but I think also access, as education for your salespeople to understand ways to improve things that are going well, in each individual area.
Yeah. That
So
powerful, man.
I don't know if I quite
Powerful.
answered
Uh,
the question, but I think that
a
it is it
thousand,
is
a
it
thousand
is
percent.
leveraging your intellectual property. And if you're with the organization and the people aren't your intellectual property, um, I don't know, you might not be in the right company, but you should be proud of everything. Just like the HVAC guy, he was proud of his pricing. He was proud of the service level agreements they had. He was proud of what that total package, concierge service looked like, special numbers. top of the list if you have an out. There's things like that, you know.
Yeah. It's
So
powerful. Again, three things, three P's, right? That we hear often when we're coaching sales teams, and they come up as debilitators is price,
mhm.
products, and production. And it's either a complaint of the internal team, it's a complaint of we're limited on product, or we need to lower our price. Everyone's lowering the prices. And usually that everyone's lowering the prices is just not even, it's a cynicism we've built in our own head, we've believed because we're not taking ownership. And so we wanted to address today with enough philosophy, the sales philosophy behind the mindset and where we can go and expand to, but also enough practicality to where we can go take ownership in critical conversations with our clients, critical conversations with our team internally, and then just also critical conversations with our industry and building out some of those partners. So hopefully you drew value out of today, or those of you watching the recording later. David, again, early on, very, very early on, you taught me the power of looking at the situation and just asking this question. Okay, it sucks, but how can I influence it for the better? And I think that really boils down to the core concept here is take ownership. When you walk into your
Mhm.
title company tomorrow, July the 1st, on this short week, with July the 4th being this Friday, right? You want to empower yourself more than ever before. Look at that company and say, what would blank do? And what I mean by blank is the owner. What would the owner do in this situation? Would the owner want to be privy to that conversation? Would the owner want to scuff this product? Would the owner want, if you just can't buy into ownership and the belief and where your company's going, uh, before you ever go look, try to water the grass, try to make it better, try to make your situation better, try to influence it. But some of you guys are banging your head against the wall. Like it's limited at the top. You need to think about, where can I be proud of working, even though we might not have everything that I want today. It's an abundant minded leadership that would welcome my feedback and take my ownership and my sense of pride and passion for what I do seriously. That's a fun place to work. That place has always attracted itself to me. I've never had to go looking for it. And I think it really just starts with today. You don't have to go necessarily look out. You just need to look inward at yourself and say, how can I change my attitude on this? So if it comes to price, product, or production, what could you do? What could you do? What's a small question? What's a small meeting? What's a small invite? What's the small step you can do to make it better? So just want to empower you guys. You guys are killers. Thank you for joining our monthly Energy for Sales training. Thank you for following along. Thank you for all the opportunities you guys give me and David, sometimes together, most of the time these days separately, to come in and coach your companies. Thank you. And David, thanks for doing this with me, man.
You know, I
You're
love
the
it.
big, you're the OG when it comes to these conversations. Been doing it a long time, so appreciate your wisdom.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Go out there and have fun in sales, guys.